So we're good to go? Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm Officer Katherine Burt with Essex County OPP. I work out of Leamington. I've been with the OPP for 26 years. Obviously today we're here to talk about frauds and scams, which is a gigantic and ongoing problem worldwide. I want to start by asking the audience, what kinds of frauds or scams have you yourself experienced? Like a phone call, an email. I was hearing some people talk about something when we first came in. What kind of stuff are you guys already aware of? Yes?
Phone calls and emails.
Okay, and what's the nature of them?
I just got the one about Rogers.
What did it say?
About your rebate.
Oh,
Because of the,
yes.
because of the blackout. And it came on my phone as a text message.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I wonder about. I get lots of text messages that are definite scams.
Mm-hmm.
Saying this is FIDO and we have a rebate for you and we don't have FIDO. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do they just go through your phone numbers at random?
Generally, yes.
Okay.
Generally, yes. So anything to do with landline phone numbers or cell phone numbers, the information is always attainable in one way or another. And things are so sophisticated these days in terms of fraudulent criminal acts. I'm telling you, the police are way behind the 8 ball on all of this stuff. Really, it's terrible. That's why, as much as possible, we can have talks like this and maybe learn something new or reinforce stuff people already know, because the way that people who do these frauds and scams, and whether it's by email or phone, they can literally be coming from anywhere in the world. And they have the ability to hide where they're coming from. I mean, I am no tech specialist by any stretch of the imagination. I've just been learning all this as stuff's gone on in the police world. And it's almost impossible to trace back where the activity is really coming from. Because most of the people that are there's Mickey Mouse amateurs, yeah, they might leave a trail. The ones that are really hitting many people and bilking people out of thousands and thousands of dollars, they're sophisticated. They have equipment such as an IP address scrambler. So basically, every place that a computer, internet is operating from, like if you're just doing some internet thing in your house, you have an IP address. And I can't remember what the IP stands for, but basically it's your sort of geolocation of where this internet is being accessed. And that's usually an attainable piece of information. But these people, the scammers and fraud people, have the technology, program, or equipment that they can attach to the computer, their computer, and you'll never know where they're really at. They could have their IP address bounce from the United States to Africa to Britain to Switzerland. It just scrambles it up. It's a total crapshoot as to where these people are operating out of. So again, prevention is the biggest chance for success at not being a victim of these people. Who else has had stuff? Yeah, go ahead.
We've had, in the past, Microsoft calling, saying something on my computer. We've had some people calling about Visa, which we don't even have, and CRA, all of those.
Right, yeah, the classic Canada revenue.
I have 4 banks, or at least bank messages on my phone, emailing me or texting me that check my account and text back to this answer at this number.
Is it even an institution that you bank with?
Some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But for the most part, one that I bank with, I took my phone into the bank and I said, this is
Yes.
That's the code number for every branch, bank, depositor. But the rest of it was blank.
Mm.
And so you're not, your card is still active, it's not blocked, which is what they said. So I was
Right.
the next morning, because they did it right after hours,
Mm-hmm.
texted me, and when I went to the bank the next morning, bright and early, she said, no, nothing.
Exactly. And that's the message I'm going to repeatedly tell everybody today. Check with your actual bank or your, credit card people that you deal with, whoever you really have dealings with, to never respond to any of this stuff by email or cell phone text or even over the phone. Because all these places that are legitimate, they don't do stuff like that. But the fraudsters are so good at impersonating. They look very genuine. They look very official, or they could sound very official. So, yeah, people aren't really sure.
I actually got a letter from England saying that I was due to
Inherit.
some money, $10,000.
10,000?
Yes.
Oh, I can't believe it's not 10 million.
$10,000, and it was in my married name, and it said your relatives over in England, this fellow had died, they said the name, and they said their solicitor was so-and-so, was official looking lawyer's letter. It's through my marriage. I mean, I don't even have any relatives over there, and I don't think my husband does either. But anyway, but the more I read the letter, the more I picked up on things that were grammatically not correct and that the spelling wasn't right. I kind of laughed. I saved it. I meant to look for it to bring it to you. I didn't have time, but I didn't do anything. I just laughed. I thought, oh
Good.
my God, this is so phony.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's, again, they're always getting better at what they do.
Yeah.
Ripping off people is lucrative, unfortunately. And one of the signs we used to say to people was, spelling errors, grammatical errors, something capitalized that shouldn't be, or vice versa. So that's still a little bit happening, obviously, but, they're still getting always better with what they're doing. Did you have one?
Your Amazon account has been compromised, but I don't have an Amazon account. Most of these calls are at 7 in the morning, like your credit cards
And it's probably 8 p.m. somewhere else in the world.
And I get one that we get a rebate for your bank account. I'm assuming they want my bank account number.
Sure.
And the phone calls are better now. We used to get them with the V and all these.
Yes,
Now
yes.
we're getting a
They look local. Yes.
Yes, so we answer the local one, and then you just hang up when you hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many people have gotten, what looks like a local call, a 519, a 226, even a 416 from GTA or 905. And you say hello, and there's almost always a pause.
Yes.
That's a hint too, right? Like, you say hello twice, you may as well probably hang up. If it's something legitimate, they'll call back, but there's always a pause before it's like, because there's computers usually dialing. It's random dialing by machine, and it takes that little second or two to communicate to an actual live person, oh, I got a voice. So that little pause is just connecting to a live person who can then begin to scam you. Or sometimes it's a recorded message that hopes that it will capture your attention and you'll push this for this or whatever the case is. And that's the thing too, and I'm glad you brought up the phone number part, because just like they can do scam, fraud things by email, by phone, we've had people call us at the Leamington Police Station saying, you guys called me, and we haven't. So they can make it look like they're calling from any phone number. And I'm like, that's high level. Like, if someone's calling and claiming to be a police officer and the return number they look like they're calling from is an actual police station phone number, you're like, man, where does this end? Like, how are you ever really going to know? Like, the only thing you can really do is not give information, and if you can, always say take their information and say you'll call them back. That way you can either check with a credit card company, a bank, the police station, whoever is acting like they're calling, and double check. But, you know, never, never, never give information over the phone or by computer. They try every single angle to get people. It's just like no end. Like, if these people who are out there doing this stuff could apply their creativity and intelligence and wherewithal about technology in a positive way, they could probably have quite a decent, legitimate job. But unfortunately, they don't. So, another thing I wanted to mention, which I'm sure people have either experienced or know of, is, you know, they can hack into somebody's email address, email contact list. And that's another thing that it's easy for people to be fooled by too, because, you know, and literally 2 days ago I got one of these, and it was through Facebook Messenger. And, but it came, was it on my phone? Well, I can do Messenger by my cell phone, but there was an email saying, so-and-so wants to friend you on Facebook. And I knew the person. So I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't talked to her in a long time, sure. And then through the Messenger, which is just like you can sort of chat directly or with somebody, she is saying, hi, how are you doing? And I already thought a little bit, this is a little bit fishy that I would hear from this person, because it's been a long time, even though I knew her. So I was like, I'm fine, how are you? And I actually, you know what, I gotta read it to you, because I don't remember exactly what they said, but it was just typical. As soon as they said that, I'm like, yeah, okay, I gotcha. They said, so I say, hi, I'm good, thanks, how are you? She says, and this didn't sound like the way that the person I knew would speak, I'm pretty good and extremely happy with the way things are with me now. I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of weird. And here was the kicker, the punchline. She says, just checking on you, wondering if you have received your DHHS, Department for Health and Human Service Grant Award. And then I'm like, okay. So I say, oh yes, I did. Did you get yours? And then the person that I really know, whose contact list they hacked into, she has a cat. So I also said, how is your fur baby doing? What is her name again? Oh. Haven't heard from them since.
They must have been going around, because I got one similar. It was from my cousin. It said, how are you doing? And my cousin's got cancer. So I was worried that maybe she had gotten sick. And I said, I'm doing fine. I missed you at the last board meeting. Now, we call our family reunions board meetings. Oh,
really?
And nobody really, well, you guys know that now. But anybody on the phone, and my cousin's response should have been, sorry I missed the last one, wasn't well, if she wasn't feeling well. The next one's going to be in 2 months, because that's when she sets them up.
Right.
So she would have given me a
Yes.
date. And instead I got somebody telling me that they were going to send me a gift. I thought, wow, she's very generous. I mean, why would she send me a gift when I see her every 2 months at a board meeting?
Right.
You know, so what I did is I just went through and I just blocked her off and blocked that off. And basically, next thing you know, my cousin's writing, oh, my Facebook's been hacked and they got my friends list, so be careful.
Yes.
You know who I am.
Yes.
That's not me.
Exactly.
So the board meeting was the thing that I put a term in that the other person would have known.
Exactly. Exactly.
But the fake person would not have had a clue.
Exactly. So, you know, like that, or what is your son or daughter's name again? Or what do you know, something you know about that legitimate person, you could just ask the question and, you know, they're not going to have an answer. But again, so tricky on every level.
Yeah, we had something similar, and it's on Facebook Messenger, it's just a family group. And my sister-in-law, there was a thing like, oh, look at this photo I found. And so I clicked on it, because she rarely puts something on. I clicked on it. And it was starting to take a long time to load, and I was starting to get suspicious, so I just canceled it. I cut it off.
Right.
And I went to the family Facebook page, and there she's got my thing's been hacked. I wrote it. So how do you know you've been hacked? How do you know?
Other people tell you.
Basically, that's pretty much only when, you know, people do not know if someone's gotten into their contact list unless they do hear it from someone who's received something that seems phony. Because there's no way that you can tell.
No.
Things just start getting sent out under your email address or your name, and yeah, you have no way of knowing. And yes, again, another cardinal rule of this whole topic is don't click on stuff. Don't click on stuff. It almost always leads you where they want you to go. Again, it's the gamut. It could be clicking on something that would make your computer vulnerable to a virus. There's a thing, I haven't heard about this so much lately, but it's technology that exists, which I think is awful, where if you click on something, it can give the ability or the permission for a Trojan horse. It's like it sneaks into your, it sneaks into your computer, but it activates your webcam and you don't even know. So they can spy on people and watch them. Why would they want to? I don't know. Maybe they're hoping to get a naked picture of someone who's wandering around and they want to blackmail them. Like, who knows? I mean, there's, yes. So a lot of laptops, and I don't know what people have and stuff, but the little tiny hole on the top of the screen is the camera. It's not a bad idea to just cover that over. Just keep it covered over. Unless to the point when you're needing to use it. So the other a whole world of scamming and frauding is also in the world of dating websites, sexual connotation stuff like, and again, it can be anything from someone's on a website. They think they think they're engaged in some sort of discussion with a legitimate person, you know, whoever they might be seeking to date kind of thing. And then it goes from, you know, regular chit chat to either let's send naked pictures back and forth to each other, or let's do sexual things online so that we can see each other. And that then the person is actually recording the other person, and then they'll blackmail them and they'll threaten to send it to everybody on their Facebook page, or they'll send it to, you know, they'll hack into their contact list and they'll send it to everybody. And that's just flat out blackmail. That actually happened in Leamington to somebody who is a high-level professional. And he got caught up in a sort of a sex on camera thing with someone, and they did record it, and they did blackmail the guy, and he was being blackmailed for almost a year when he finally decided, I am just going to have to let the chips fall where they may, and he lost his job because what he'd been doing was at work on a work computer. But I mean, how humiliating, like how brutally humiliating, like, so that's a risky thing. And then there's other ways that people will just come up with these fantastic stories where, and I have an uncle who almost fell prey to this, and my uncle is a retired deputy fire chief. So the guy's not stupid. That's a point I want to make, that people that get duped by frauds and scams of any nature, it's nothing to do with people's intelligence level, okay? The police have seen all cross-sections of people be victimized by scams. Men, women, black, white, Protestant, Catholic, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's crossing all boundaries of people. And average intelligence, high intelligence people. you know, so you hear a story and you'd be like, well, how could they be that stupid? Well, a lot of people have been that stupid, but they're not stupid people. I think that the psychology of it is that a couple of things. You know, people, when they're in the privacy of their own home and they're on their computer, they're kind of in that world, and it's easy to believe there's something just going on between you and that website or whatever the case is. And it's not like you're sitting there. I mean, you could go ask your spouse, hey, come and look at this, what do you think? Some people will do that. Or some people are up late at night and everyone else is in bed, and they just go on their own thoughts or feelings, or, you know, oh yeah, it's probably legitimate. And they also, when people are seeing things that, you know, again, and it's the classic, if it seems too good to be true, probably is. There's a good chance that it is. If you run into any of this stuff ever, again, with the victimization has crossed all sections of society, again, age-wise, anything, please don't, try not to be embarrassed to come forward to tell somebody about it. A family member, anybody, you know, go to the bank, go to the police. Let people know what's going on. There's not much guarantee that someone will be caught in what they're doing, but, you know, at least it can be advertised publicly in terms of a media release to warn other people. Did anybody...
I was going to ask you about reporting, because I've reported numbers to CRTC, telephone numbers I kept calling. And, you know, then you won't get that one, but then some other people you might ask, well, they're just going to use other numbers. Use other numbers. I don't know a reporting number for Fraud Squad, but is it worth it to do it? Because they just say, oh, they're just going to call another one, and they've got 10 numbers. You just, if you give them this one, they're going to just use the rest.
It's not necessarily useful to report a number that you've gotten a call from, because yes, that does change all the time. There's some literature up here that you guys should take a copy of when you leave. One of the best and most informative websites you're going to find on this subject is included in this handout, and it is the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. And their information is on the last page, so you don't have to write it down, you can just take it. They're always saying, report stuff. We want to know the latest trend. We want to know regions that are being affected by what. They're not going to do an investigation. They're tracking trends of scams and frauds, but there's a lot of really good information that's up to date on that website about what things are going on and how people can protect themselves and what they can do if they find themselves in that situation.
I was getting a lot of emails from Canada Post because I was having things delivered, and I thought, it's already been delivered, your tracking number. So they had a fraud department number, so I called their fraud department. So I gave them the information, and they said, thank you, that we're going to follow up on this. When people report it,
oh, okay, good, good. Well, that's good. I mean, yeah, I mean, sometimes that's a good point of if there's an agency or business that is being targeted, as in it looks like stuff's coming from them, they may well have a fraud department. Like, you know, all credit card companies have a fraud or anti-theft department. Whether they, I mean, I don't know what they do or don't look into, but it never hurts to call them to ask or to let them know what's going on. Like any of the bank stuff, calling your bank, did you guys send this? No, okay, you know, do you know that this is going on? Usually they do, but there's always new stuff coming out. So it might be the first time they're like, oh, that's a new one, I haven't heard of that. Like how many people here heard of the grandparent scam that was going on? Just unbelievable. I mean, that scam really escalated. There was an original one where people were calling people's grandparents and pretending to be the grandchild of the person and just saying, can you send me money, or, you know.
Get out of jail, bail money.
Well, that was the next one. So it got more, I don't know, sophisticated or deviant, because it usually was just a kid pretending or someone acting like the grandchild, trying to get some money and wiring the money, e-transferring it, however they were doing it. And then it went to, in our area, meaning Leamington, Kingsville, Essex, like right in Essex County, these people had jumped it up a few notches by actually calling and claiming that it was a lawyer, that their grandkid was in jail for some reason, whatever the reason. They had hit someone in an accident and they were being held for bail. And, you know, and then, you know, they would have this person in the background saying, "Grandma, it's really me. Can you help out?" or something along those lines. And that the person on the phone was acting like they were a lawyer in the situation. And then, you know, they would act like they were handing the phone over to a police officer. Like, it was very orchestrated. And the bond or the bail money was like $9,800. And these people bilked people out of $9,800 about 5 times, 5 different sets of victims. And this is what we find too, like, successful scams are mobile. So, you know, okay, they saturated this area probably because, you know, you don't start hearing about it until, 1 case, 2 cases, 3 cases. Media release, tell everybody, and then a couple more people come forward and say, yeah, that happened to me too. And then those people doing this stuff realize, okay, it's heating up around here too much. We're going to move north, or we're going to move east, or wherever they went.
And
So,
there are people that they tell them to go get prepaid Visa cards.
yes.
But then you hear a couple people at stores, they do older people, whoever doing it, and they stop them. They say,
Yes.
"What are you doing?" "Well, they say I need to send money."
Yes.
And there's a couple that, you know, have been
Yeah.
helped, you know.
Absolutely, and that's been going on for a while too, for a few years at least. And you know, I don't really get this one myself, because I don't understand how people could believe that a legitimate store, business, or government entity would be asking people to buy a gift card to pay them back. Like, to me, that's just. But, you know, again, to the people listening to it, they believe these people are official, and they believe that they're going to get into trouble for something if they don't do it, and they play on people's fear and vulnerability. And, like, I cringe to think of how many people have lost money that way. Like, for all reported fraud and scam that we hear about, we don't know the rest of the iceberg that we don't hear about, and that's awful. Like, there's billions a year worldwide that people get ripped off globally. So that's why I say prevention. Don't let these people do what they want to do. Like, we got to knock them down at the knees every time.
I had one a few months ago when Ford announced we were getting rebates on our electricity. It was a person, it was a local number, and the first 2 times I hung up, but by the 3rd call within 2 hours, I listened for a minute. And the woman said, "We are a hydro company, you qualify for the rebate from the government. There is someone in your area, in your postal code, to come over to see if you qualify." I said, "I don't like people in my house." And then she said, "Well, you can answer these questions on the phone." I said, "If you send me a letter about this, I will respond." They hung up on me. But that sounded so legit from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Because you knew you were getting a rebate.
Yep.
And it was a person, it wasn't a recording. And by the 3rd time they called, I thought, you know, well, maybe this is legit. But as soon as I said, "If you send me a letter,"
Exactly.
I'll respond.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, blocking them from getting what they're asking for and putting the ball in their court. You give me a number to call, or you give me something in the mail. Yes. And that is also, you know, one of the characteristics of these games that they're playing. And it could be a pretend you won something thing too, right? Like it's like they want to do a fast talking, don't give you too much time to think about it. You got to decide now or you lose out. This is only good for today. You know, all that pressure tactic stuff. To me, that's a huge red flag. And, you know, even if it is like, hey, you've won a cruise, but you got to do A, B, and C right now. I don't care. Personally, I don't care. You know what? Keep your cruise, because I don't appreciate being pressured. And there's always a catch. So the more the people talk about this with each other and the more that people can be aware, and then again, it's like the best word of mouth that can be is talking to your friends, your family, your neighbors, whatever, to get the topic to be discussed so that people can share thoughts and ideas. Always double check. Always, 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 always. Tell everybody to double check. Do not click on this. Do not answer that. Do not give personal information on the phone or even by email. Again, because these legit institutions, they don't ask for that because they know about all the scams and stuff going on. They don't want to put people in that position. So when someone is, that makes it just, to me, immediately suspicious. I was just going to say something and I forgot. Yes.
What I get a bit is you've won something and you read down and there's a shipping charge.
Oh, yeah.
I cut that off right away.
Yeah.
Type of things.
Yeah. Always a catch. If it's not obvious at the beginning, it shows up later. But you don't want to catch it later, usually by the time you've clicked on something or answered something or opened up some attachment. That's sometimes when it's too late. And this is what I was going to say before. Again, it's not necessarily dumb people that are out there doing all this stuff. They are swift. They are up on top of current events. I mean, how soon after the so-called Rogers shutdown, I still don't understand what Rogers has to do with ATMs across Canada. I don't understand that at all. But that day was what, last Thursday or Friday, I guess, just a week ago. How quickly were people getting emails about a Rogers rebate? Like a day later, right? That just shows you how on the ball they are. It's like, makes it more believable if we're going to piggyback our scam attempt onto a legitimate issue that's going on in our society. They're that fast. So again, we always have to be cautious, suspicious, questioning. Anybody else think of any other examples of weird stuff that they've gone through and known of?
The other one is charities, you know, posing as legitimate charities, or whether they're at your door or on the phone. You can't tell if they're legitimate or not.
Exactly.
That even coming to your door, posing. I'm always very cautious about what that charity is if they're asking money.
Yeah. Do people have people coming to their doors very much asking for stuff? I feel like it's that's a little bit of a trend that's died down, I think, because of people being suspicious and it's easier to do it by internet. But again, I personally don't appreciate being put on the spot to be asked for stuff. I feel it's pressure, or, you know, you're in my face. Like, I want to think about it. I don't want to do it because I feel obligated or something, whatever the case is. So can I have some literature? Can I have a phone number? Can I have a website? I'll look into it and I'll look into it.
For years ago, they would call, they say they represent a vacuum company, we got this new vacuum, we want to come to your house and do a demonstration, it'll only take 30 minutes, no obligation.
Yeah, those people
Once
would,
they get your house,
they stick around for like
yeah.
3 hours.
Yes.
My mother, man, back in the 60s, my mother did one of those vacuum sales
Yeah.
things. And she had actually just totally vacuumed the house. And she's pretty like precise about her housework. So she had already done a really thorough vacuuming job. And this person came in to demonstrate a vacuum and then showed her, look, all the dirt and dust that he had collected. And she just, right then and there, she's like, that's bull, buddy, because I just totally vacuumed. There's no way you found that much dirt. Like, so even back then they were trying to fool people, right? The other thing that people have to watch for, and this is as old as dirt as far as I'm concerned, but the good old house repair people. Do you need your roof done? Do you need your driveway paved, etc.? And how many people over the years have given a deposit for some work? You know, it could be $1,000, and maybe these people don't come back at all, or maybe they do some little thing. Oh, we'll be back tomorrow, we'll be back the next day. They saturate an area or a neighborhood or whatever their geographical target is, and then they take off to the next community. Has anybody heard of any of that stuff going on lately anywhere?
In Windsor, there's a couple of places that my family sent me. Do not deal with this company. They're gone out of it. Gone.
Under?
They took the $1,000 and then they were gone and stuff like that and everything. And then it happened to my daughter in Ottawa. Her car broke down, so she took it in to be fixed. And the guy gave her a bill and goes, this is everything you need on this car. Now, this car is 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's got a fair amount of miles on it because she's a salesperson, so it's still, but it's only 5 years old. It was going to be $3,000 to fix this car. And she goes, really? Come on, give me a break. So she found a place that a friend recommended and said, okay, take him to this guy, 10 times better, and he'll give you. He goes, can I have your bill to check? You know, they were going to do it. She said, okay. He gave her a bill for $500. That was it.
Wow.
And he says, I'm posting this on my door with the company's name because he goes, this is a hoot that they were going to rebuild this whole car.
Wow.
And going to do all this work. But when she went back to the original people, they were gone.
Oh, that's
They were just,
nice.
like, gone.
Wow.
She goes, they ever moved fast.
Wow.
She goes, their front of their garage, and they even had cars parked in there, and the guys were in uniform, but it was all a scam.
Well, that's pretty elaborate.
Yeah, she goes, I think they were going to try to take my car, let alone fix
Maybe.
my car. You know, because she says it was just like, this is too weird, you know, but they were just gone that fast. And so, you know, there's scammers. But the big one is cement work right now in Windsor, people ripping up half driveways and then not coming back to
Really?
finish. Yeah.
So they're
Pretty weird.
ripping up?
Cement work, you know, you lift off all your bricks. My cousin sent me a picture of God's house and all his driveway's gone. And the bricks are gone. But nobody came back to finish the job.
And they have no way to get a hold of
No,
them?
the
or-
company doesn't exist anymore, it's gone.
So someone
I don't
just
know what
wanted
they
to
did with the
steal
bricks.
some,
He must have sold them to
or
somebody.
steal some bricks, like,
Yeah, it's probably one of those things on Marketplace. Bricks for sale. Yeah, I know this guy's bricks.
that sounds like more trouble than it's worth, you
I
know?
would have thought that too, but I guess it's like you said, if you saturate a neighborhood, you get
Yeah.
about 1,500 half down, because it's about 3,000 to redo a
Yeah,
driveway.
yeah.
So you're getting 1,500
Yeah.
down per driveway.
It's
It
free
might
money.
just make it worth your while
Yep.
to do it.
It's free money.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question about something else.
Sure.
If you're going to sell something, I'm not talking about dollar stuff at a yard sale, it's worth a couple $100. You don't want the person coming to your house.
Right.
Somebody told me you can go, and I don't know if this is true, to the police station in the parking lot.
Yes.
Do you just inform them that you're making a,
You don't have to tell them anything.
just go there?
Yeah.
To make the exchange?
Yep. Yeah, generally speaking, yeah, again, so you're selling something on Kijiji, you're buying something on Kijiji, we'll meet at Kingsville OPP station in the front parking lot or back side parking lot, I guess it is. You can tell the police if you want them to know whether somebody's in the building or not, or if they're all at calls, who knows, but yeah.
Just the fact that you're meeting there. and
Yeah,
making sure that-
yeah.
Right.
Well, hopefully,
Yes.
hopefully.
And it should always be cash.
I always say a
Not
bunch.
check or anything like that. Always say you want cash.
Yeah, you should be doing a cash deal on that kind of secondhand stuff. In Leamington, they have, so where the Leamington Police Station is, across the road, right across the road from it is a municipal parking lot, but someone had the idea and it got approved to put parking, 2 of the parking spots there say like internet exchange spot or something like that. So there's actually a couple of parking spots there that people are. No, is it just the street? No, you know what? I was like, okay, I know that people park at the side. I don't know if the public, they must have to park at the side. Really?
I was there recently, you only park in the road in front.
Oh. Well, you know what? For a little quick exchange, I don't think anybody'd be too bothered. They just don't want people, you know, if police cars are whipping out of in and out of the thing, they don't want to have to worry about other people's cars being in the way. So, yeah, I mean, so it's like, I used to do this talk a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and it was a lot more specific almost, like, well, watch out for this and look out for that and careful about this. It's a crapshoot these days. It's wide open. It's wide open. Things are so well done. Websites or, you know, emails that are sent with legitimate looking logos of legitimate companies. All I could really say is a blanket, everything we're talking about. Don't give any information over the phone or texting. Just don't give anything away to anybody. Double check stuff. Don't click on things. Always double check. Like even again, it's like, man, you have to think twice about everything these days, but it's true, you do. I mean, literally you could think you're getting an email from your son or your daughter or your sister. It might not be from them. You know, if it looks weird, if it sounds weird, if it's not the way they would talk, or they would say something like, my mother and my brother got an email, again, classic, you guys have probably all heard of it. This was just a few months ago where someone had hacked into somebody's contact list and they both knew her. She was kind of a distant relative in the area. It just, to me it was stupid to me that person would never ask such a thing, but I'm on my way to a funeral and my car broke down and I need your help to do whatever. Can you, oh, I know what it was. It was even weirder than that. It wasn't a car breakdown. I'm on my way to a funeral. I just remembered it was so-and-so's birthday. Can you do me a favor and pick up a couple of gift cards for me to get for them? It was like that kind of a thing, like, do me a favor. I'm pressed for time. And my mother, who is 78 and very trusting, although my brother's a cop too, so she's become nice and cynical over the last number of years thanks to us. She's like, yeah, at first I thought it was really her, and I thought, well, that's weird. I mean, but maybe she's really in a pinch and maybe her husband can't be reached. And then, you know, she did work it through herself. I'm like, nah, that doesn't sound right. I'm like, no, it's not. Don't give anything to those people. But again, here's going back to what I was going to say a little bit about the psychology of some of this. Like, we are not stupid people, generally speaking. But many of us are trusting people. Many of us are good, law-abiding people. And many of us, our initial go-to is not someone's pulling a fast one. We don't necessarily assume or think right away like, this is phony. Most of us take things at face value because we are honest people. And it doesn't so much, we're like, well, I'm honest. Why would anybody else be honest? But that's another thing we have to drum into our own psyches. The world, most people are still good, trusting people. Most people are. But those aren't the ones doing all these scams and fraud attempts.
I would be sure that the OPP would discourage people from trying to catch and hold these people who come to your house until the police arrive, where they'll say, yes, oh yeah, you can come to get it, and they'll give it to you. Where they actually come to the door to pick up the money or something. I'm sure he would highly discourage that. trying to trap them and catch them?
Well, we would never be in a position where we would advocate that somebody hold on to, like, and would this be a suspected criminal or like 99% this person's pulling a fast one? The cop part of me wants to say, yeah, pin them down, but we can't really say that. We can't really say that because we're not allowed to advocate for people to do anything really. Someone has to do something of their own free will. I will tell you that everybody has the power of citizen's arrest. So that actually means that you have the right to detain anybody. You can lawfully detain someone with whatever force is necessary to detain them, which is reasonable, until authorities arrive if they're caught in the act of committing an offense. So, take an example of you leave a bar, you see someone is drunk out of their head, they're stumbling towards their car, they're fumbling to get in the driver's side. They're gonna drink and drive. People can pin that person, literally pin them to the ground and hold them down on the ground until the police arrive.
Take away their keys.
Yes. And you can even say, you're under citizen's arrest. You have the right to do that. Now, I can't advocate and I can't say, you guys should all go do that. Because then if something goes wrong, it's gonna come back on me. Well, she said we should. No, I don't need that kind of liability, but that is people's right to do that, and it's their choice. So in that scenario, you'd have to decide, you know, because does someone doing a citizen's arrest have the ability to safely do what they're doing? Like, is that person they're dealing with, could they pull out a knife? I mean, who knows what their deal is?
Years ago, we were talking about people going door to door. Years ago, there was a couple in a white van that used to drive around Essex County, and they would hit up all the churches, the food banks, and all this, and say they had kids, they want money.
Oh, they want money.
They want money, they don't want food, actually. When I was at one church, I was working there, and they showed up. And of course, the church being Christian church, they gave them food and some money. I had to do a delivery at a different church. I said, hey, I'm going through town, I'll drop this delivery off. Who's standing there? Is this couple, right? And now, first of all, it was one kid, had a broken leg, this kid did this kid did that. I just happened to walk in the office and the woman was standing there. I said, it's you again. And they said, oh yeah, she's got kids in the hospital. I said, how many damn kids do you have?
Yeah.
I said, it seems to me like you must have a daycare in that van. Because I said, every time I see you, you've got a different one that's sick. And she says, well, I didn't mean to cut. I don't want any trouble. And I said, I'm not giving you any trouble. I'm asking a question. I said, give her the food basket, but there's no cash. She was, well, I want cash. I said, there is no cash. There's no cash. So just take the food and go. Well, 3 years ago, they popped up in the Walmart parking lot in Amherstburg. I said, did these people, I gas at whatever, $2 a liter, you know, they're driving all over Essex County, scamming people, but they were scamming people out of Walmart, asking them for cash, not food.
Right.
Cash. So my daughter took their picture.
Good.
And the license plate.
Good.
And she went over to the police station in Amherstburg and said, these guys are in the parking lot. I don't know what they're up to, but they're pretty sketchy. Well, the cops were there in 2 seconds because Amherstburg's not a big town.
Right.
Boom, they were right there, like, who are you? But that van pops up about every 2 or 3 years.
Really?
So I figured they must be
They're
in
probably,
Windsor, no good,
it's
doing
just
something.
one long vacation for these people. They just go all the way across from one end of southern Ontario to the other. It's a camping trip.
Yeah.
Funded by generous, trusting people probably.
Yeah, for like $50 here, $60
Oh, yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
plus you get a food basket.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get meals to go along with that.
Yeah.
But there was always a kid. There was always a kid.
But did the kid, was there an actual kid or just
No, there was
speaking
never-
about a kid?
There was never a kid because
Yeah.
I actually decided to walk her back to her van. I said, well, this basket's really heavy. Why don't I help you to your van?
Yeah.
And there's some sketchy, weird looking guy in the van. I said, he's with you, I take it. And she goes, yeah. I said, well, here's your basket. And I walked away. And then I wrote down the license number and I called the police and said, they're back. They knew who they were. I said, the people in the white van, oh no, they're back again. Yeah, here's their license number. They were just here 10 minutes ago. They went down this road. Go find them. Because I said, I'm not stopping them. You go find them. But sure enough, there were no kids. There are no kids.
No. Well, there's usually not a lot of whatever the story is.
Yeah.
And so, note to the group, anytime you may encounter any suspicious vehicle in your midst, try to get the license plate number. Like, that is a key thing that we need to try and track down. If people are doing mobile things like that, that the license plate is of great importance. The other thing is, you know, there's a fine line sometimes between fraud and scam versus manipulation. So again, if people are ever in doubt, call and ask us or discuss it with someone. What those people are doing is not actually illegal.
No.
They're just sponges on society. So, and it's almost like a buyer beware. So it's like, hey, if you want to get in a vehicle and run around the country and wear rags and pretend you're poor and say you need this and say you need that, you're not forcing anybody. You're not false pretense like, I'll give you this if you give me that. You're just lying to people and you're manipulating people. And if people buy into it, that's their unfortunate problem. Because you're not pretending a service or anything like that. You're just basically saying, I want.
Can you help me?
Yeah, give me, I want. And then it's up to the people to decide, do they want to help them or not. So that's a lucrative business for some people. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembered way back, man, I don't know, the 90s maybe, in Toronto, there was a street lady or a bag lady that was busted, not by the police, but found out about what she was doing. And she literally would dress looking so haggard and poor and dirty and pathetic and beg for money in downtown Toronto. Every day she was somewhere, you know, within about a 4-block radius doing her little spiel. Someone finally followed that woman one day. Was it a reporter?
I know the one, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and they followed her at the end of her day of begging, and she got into a decent vehicle and drove off to a suburban residence. So, yeah, it's like you never know. And I mean, it's sad in a way because people that are inclined to be kind or generous to other people, well, you really have to double check who you're going to be kind and generous to if you're so inclined. You know, there are genuine charitable situations out there, but there's probably some safer ways of going about it. The rest of the people, we don't know what's going on. I mean, half the time when I've seen people in a city begging for money, just I can tell by looking at them, they're probably an addict to drugs, because people end up looking a certain way. And so, not all the time, but generally, you know, can you please, you know, I need money for food, I need money for rent, whatever the case is. Well, probably you need money for drugs. And probably if you do need money for rent, it's because you do spend all your money on drugs and therefore you don't have a place to live. It's a vicious cycle. But the point is, you never really know. And if you're okay with giving money or whatever to somebody and you don't care what they do with it, well, that's fine. But I prefer the approach, if I was going to help someone, I'll buy them a burger or something like that. Like, if this is your genuine need, then you'll be appreciative.
And the lady asked me in Toronto, I was just with my daughter to get back to pay her some money. It was outside Tim Hortons. I said, well, I'll go in if you want money for food. I'll go in and buy you. What do you want? Oh, well, I'd rather have the cash. No, I said, I'll go in right now. She declined.
See? I mean, yeah, it's pretty transparent if someone's saying they're hungry, they need food for money, and then you offer to buy them food, and they're like, oh no, I'd rather have the money. Yeah, well, okay, so you don't need the money for food. Any other thoughts or questions about this topic of discussion?
I I play video games, and I've had a friend in Kentucky for a number of years. And he told me about a scam that was going on over the phone about 2 years ago, where they would record their voice saying yes, and then use that to purchase items on the phone with businesses, and get the items sent to the scammer. So whenever he answered the phone and had to say to someone he didn't know, or even he just became accustomed, he would say correct. He would never use the word yes on the phone.
I actually don't think I've heard of that one.
Well, I just flip, because I'm very naive, less so, but I am naive, and there's some things I will just say, of course.
Yeah, there must be more to that one, right? Like saying yes. I mean, there must be more to that story. You can't just take someone's recording of saying yes and apply it to purchasing on their behalf or something. They must have gotten a bit more info.
What it was about ordering items through the internet and using probably a credit card, which they may have gotten their name
Right.
and applied for, and then all they had to do was get his recording of saying,
Yeah, they must have paved the way to get some other.
Maybe they had the credit card number, say, is this your credit card, blah, blah, blah? Is that
Right.
correct? If you say yes.
Yeah. And then they can abuse that into, it's some sort of authorization of something.
exactly.
Just for a final thing, if you do catch somebody, the grandparents, I know it's very hard to catch these people, but there are some that come to the house and they have help with the police. What's the justice system doing with this? How are they helping? Are they getting away with it? Are they going to come down hard on these people if you can get them? I haven't really heard any incidents of the fallout from that.
That is an excellent question. How do I put this diplomatically? What is our justice system doing about anything these days, actually? Again, police officer for 26 years. I can only go by what I've seen change over 26 years. Where it used to be people would get put in jail for a period of time depending on what they did, or they would get probation, rules to go by, they would be enforced, they would be recharged with things. It seemed to matter to people. Property crime in general is a lower priority. So unless it's sort of a flamboyant, like, hey, you built this older couple out of their life savings and it makes the paper, the courts in Canada don't seem to want to put people in jail for any reason. I don't know why. I mean, they can say, and this is my perception. I'm not speaking on behalf of the OPP. This is my perception of things. Yeah, it costs money to incarcerate people. Okay. It costs money to do all of the work that happens when repeat criminals are repeatedly doing things against the community and is still engaged with the justice, I'll call it the legal system, repeatedly. So it'd have to be pretty flamboyant to get jail time. Chances are, even if someone was caught, in a normal scenario, someone might be ordered to pay restitution. In other words, pay back whatever it is someone got bilked out of. Are they going to have that money anymore? You know, have they spent it all, or have they secreted it in some offshore bank account, like in the Bahamas or something? If they're that high level, who knows? But yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on anything that the courts will react like, to be honest with you. And, you know, another standard behavior is, let's say someone was actually charged with 20 counts of fraud, and there was 20 cases against this person. Well, you know, we don't really have a lot of time for trials. They take a long time. The court system is backed up. Our legal system is just in a state of chaos at any given time. And then COVID put things even more behind. So, okay, let's plea deal that. Oh, all right, you want to plead guilty to 3 out of the 20 charges? Sounds good to me. Happens every day. Do I feel happy about this? No. This is not why I signed up to try and protect society and the community against criminal-minded people who do criminal behavior. But that's the reality of the state of affairs right now, and I don't think it's ever going to change. So, I don't know if that answers your question. You're just going to kill them right on the doorstep, aren't you? I didn't suggest you do.
Some of the digital scams too, though, they're not even in the country, so.
Yes, exactly. You mean like the people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not.
Oh yeah, most of the,
We read a book about that, 611 or something. They were in India.
oh yeah, they're all over the
All
place.
these scams.
They could be elsewhere in Canada, they could be in the States, they could be in any piece of the world. They could be, you know, in their mother's basement. Or
My
they,
sister actually, she got a call from a scam person, and she said, he sounds pretty young. So she said, she went along with something about the computer, and she said, does your mother know what you're doing? You ought to be ashamed of yourself for doing this. I'm just embarrassed for you. Get a life, get a real job. And then she hung up.
well, it'd be nice if it resonated with somebody, but
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Do you have to worry about when we're doing work on a computer, banking and stuff? Paying
Well,
bills, like, is somebody hearing us?
You know what? The longer time goes along, the less I can answer a question like that, to be honest with you, because it just feels like every day in the news, there's more evidence of what lack of privacy we all have, and how any faction of whatever can look into anything they want about any of us. So far, legitimate banks still have some of the most high security antivirus, anti-hacking software that we can still trust. Does it mean it'll never happen? Oh, who knows? Someone will be smart enough to figure it out. I mean, you know, you get the odd time where, oh, you know, Winner's customer list was hacked into somehow, or, you know, some lower level credit card type thing, or even, you know, higher level credit cards. So to me, you can never say never, but to date, the major banks in Canada have been pretty reliable. I do my banking online. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So like the other day I was booking a hotel.
Yes.
I had to give my credit card. or
Right.
my phone. If I'm doing it in front of the computer, is someone in there listening to me?
Oh, okay, okay.
Information?
First of all, were you giving your information over the phone? You were confident that that's who you're really giving it to?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, that's a dicey one, a hit and miss. Like, if your computer's on, are you being heard? Are you being watched? It's not clear. It's possible, it's not likely, but it's not out of the question. And why I say that is, there's ongoing examples and incidents of people having conversations, and next thing you know, their cell phone pops up an ad that's related to that topic that they were talking about. How's that possible if something's not listening into you? And a lot of times, for the average person, it's probably just for consumer data and trying to target what they think you want to buy and do marketing and algorithms of people's purchasing behavior. I don't care. You shouldn't be eavesdropping through someone's cell phone. Are you kidding me? That's what I say. I think we have an illusion of privacy. I don't really think we have privacy anymore. So just bear that in mind in basically every single thing that you do. And you think, well, I'm a boring average person. Who cares if I'm being watched or spied on? But it's kind of the principle of the thing too, right? And it's not yet to the point where thieves, frauds, scam artists are watching and listening to people do transactions so that they can make notes. But who knows? It could be happening. It might happen. Anything's possible. That's the thing. Any darn thing is possible. So it's just vigilance. You know, if you don't need to do it in front of your computer, and you know, maybe shut it down or block the thing or turn the volume off or whatever. But again, people that have the technology to do these things, like open these things remotely, you might not even know if it's on or not. So maybe could you make a call from another room if you want it to be diligent? Just, you know, sometimes think creatively about how you can protect your privacy.
I have an anecdotal story for you with insurance. So municipally we buy insurance for technology and to protect our everything's becoming more technical. And we have a broker in and asked a question about the insurance, because insurance is driven by money and loss. So if there's money and loss, the insurance will respond first. And the insurance broker said just a few years ago you could not sell digital insurance. Brokers were trying to sell this coverage, nobody wanted to buy it. Today, it's getting almost impossible to buy digital insurance because the losses are getting so great that they don't want to insure it. So they had a product that nobody wanted, didn't need, and now they have a product that they're like, ooh, maybe we...
Yeah.
And so the price of it, municipally, you're all paying for this in various forms of your taxes, jumped up incredibly, but it's also insurance we can't go without now at this point, because so much is at stake. And there has been, you know, people who have been able to take over a network and hold it hostage for ransom and whatnot. So, and you asked about, you know, are people listening or watching? I have a friend whose camera was hacked, and she found out someone was able to view her through her camera. And they sell little, you know, it's a simple piece of plastic you put on your phone or your
or
camera,
masking tape.
that you can just shut it, right? So if somebody is hacking in, and you wouldn't know. Thank you, Officer Burt.
Oh, you're welcome.
Please make sure you grab a copy of the Digital Safety for the Non-Tech Savvy. This was put out by the Windsor Police in conjunction with Elder College and the City of Windsor. We have a lot of copies here. It is user-friendly for large print. Anybody who happens to be watching online, we have more here. Please come and get them. And you know, this isn't just seniors. My teenager was recently, you know, fooled online. I've been fooled online in the recent past, so don't feel badly. This is all ages targeted and are susceptible. So.
Across the spectrum, yep. Thank you very much for your attention.